This video is a follow-up to my short guide on delay mechanics or rhythm manipulation. If you haven't seen it yet, I do suggest that you go and see it. This is basically a direct follow-up or part 2. It's heavily inspired by your comments early on onto the other video, so I genuinely truly meant it when I asked you guys to let me know what you guys think and what you'd like to see, because this is the video that results from it. I'm going to be sharing more thoughts on rhythm manipulation, delay mechanics, and how they make things just way more unpredictable for your opponent, which is kind of the subject of what this first comment is looking for. Other than that, someone is saying that they try to press their buttons as fast as possible before and they're looking to try this out. And remember, it's a little bit hard to do at first to be manually delaying your own things a little bit to create those gaps in this game, but it's going to be so worthwhile because those threats are going to be more omnipotent and coming more often instead of block strings that have no gaps or no threats at all. Therefore, they can just, autopilot a block and give them a lot of time to push you back. Someone is looking for a breakdown of this in a match, and I'm going to be providing that in this video. More content, please, I got you as well. And now the topic that I want to start with. This user is bringing up a very, very valid and good point of that charge heavy, which is something I talked about in the first video, is reactable by parry, and you might be conditioning your opponent to go for parry on defense. And I have some thoughts about that, and I wish I had covered it a little bit more in my first video, so we're going to be starting off with that. Again, thanks for the comment and keep them coming. It's super important for me to know what you guys are thinking or what you'd like to know about, or just make sure that things are clear for you. In my first video, I was talking about doing some wider gaps, and I was suggesting that the charge heavy kind of illustrates that concept really well, because if you're going to do a wide gap, it opens the door to do some slower moves, but that retain your pressure and your turn on block, which the fully charged heavy kind of does. It forces them an answer on defense. And so far in my matches, when I try to abuse some of that, I usually see people retaliating with the parry, probably first and foremost, and sometimes just pressing a button like the medium on defense. It kind of stops it because it has a long startup. Now, to make things clear, besides those concepts, I do not suggest that you should be doing charge heavy into charge heavy, nor do I even suggest to do charge heavy often. I wanted to put that out there in case of some beginners looking at that and thinking that they can be doing it a lot. So let's talk about fully charged heavy just a little bit before we continue on to some other stuff as well. Charge heavy, when fully charged, is a whopping 32 frames of startup. In general, in fighting games, think of these values and keep them in mind. Usually moves that start up in around 21 to 23 frames, or on the lower bracket of what is humanly reactable. Keep in mind this can change from game to game. Some games are a little bit more fluid in their animations and some game a little less, and they use keyframes that could be indicators. So sometimes this can drop all the way down to maybe 19 frames. But generally speaking, anything that is 25 frames and up is tending to be even more reactable and starting to be slow enough that more and more people are going to be able to do it. So you can imagine that with 32 frames at a big windup like this, it is extremely reactable, and the worst part of it is you can't delay it any further. You shot that gun, you fired the trigger, and at some point there's a deadline. You can't charge it anymore and it has to come out. So it's extremely not only reactable at that point, it's predictable. With that being said, the charge quality of the heavy normal in 2XKO is still a fantastic rhythm manipulation tool, simply because, well, you can 1/3 charge it, you can half charge it, you can 3/4 charge it. Remember one crucial thing about rhythm manipulation and why all of this works is because you are varying all of these tempos and timings and throwing different off tempos and off rhythms to your opponent that they can't keep track or know what to do. If you keep doing the same thing, that is the opposite of manipulating your rhythm. You're giving them a very sequential rhythm, kind of like in music, to predict exactly what is going to happen. This makes their parries extremely easy to get. Now, this is the same thing even if you're doing small gaps where they could start up a jab, their fastest move, but they can't get it out fully because the gap is so small that they get hit. You frame trap them. However, if you keep doing traditional frame traps like that, well, it gets easy for them to just smash the parry in between one of those gaps, and you're doomed. So if I come here and we set Echo to do a parry after a block immediately, there you go. Go up to him. I left a small gap there. He got the parry out. He parried me, and he gets a full combo. This is where doing wide gaps is absolutely crucial so that he can't get a timing like that. And if I were to charge 8 suddenly, then I'm the one that gets the crumple, and he's mash parry here, expecting a small gap or a frame trap. Doesn't work out, and it works out for me. Remember, you could also just be doing wide gaps kind of like this, where you intentionally, just with a button press, the next button in line, make a wide gap. Always remember that whatever you're conditioning, whether you're doing small, tight frame traps or leaving more gaps in your frame traps, you're conditioning something from your opponent when you start representing either or. That's why you want to switch back and forth and also try to predict if they will adjust, and if they do, what it could be. If you got away with the fully charged H once or twice here and there, and you can sense that they'll probably want to respond to it with a parry next time. Heck, you could even just, drop the whole thing and go for the throw. When people are playing fighting games, think of it like this. People are actively looking for something. If at first they're just down backing and blocking all the time, looking at you, observing what you do on offense, making sure and trying to build a defense plan against you, while they're doing that, they're not trying to retaliate, they're not trying to parry. Maybe you can sneak in something that's super predictable, like the fully charged H, and then they're going to pick up on that. Now suddenly, in their mind, they're like, aha, this player likes to do the charge H, that's super fake, that's way too slow. The next time I'm doing it, I'm for sure going to parry. I got my information I was looking for. So tell yourself this, now this player, all of a sudden, in his what we call the mental stack, is overly trying to find that fully charged H to happen again because he's got a plan for it. That is basically exactly what conditioning is. And if you can tell what they're thinking about and what they're trying to figure out or trying to adjust to and do something else that beats it, you kind of stay one step ahead. Alright, let's stop the yap for now before we start speculating that Nico Kato Avocado would potentially be the greatest fighting game player because he's 2 steps ahead, and watch some clips and some real life examples. The first one I'm going to show is from Granblue Fantasy vs Rising, which is another fighting game, just to show that you can use this in any fighting game, so it's a great investment into this concept and understanding the underlying sort of human component to why it works on human opponents is something that will carry you all the way through your journey from beginner to intermediate to high level when you're advanced as well. This is still going to be extremely relevant and useful and usable to get some hits. Right, I spent a lot of meter there. Maybe we could. Oh, the stagger! Ah! You know it's true. That's dopamine, man. Straight dopamine, and you know it. Oh, the stagger is dopamine. Ah. Come on. Alright, so what you saw there is after my character hits their character with the hilt of the sword, I'm plus on block, meaning that it's still my turn, I'm advantageous, I can do an attack afterwards. I can go for a frame trap that only leaves a small gap, as per the terms we've been using with this video series. But instead, I'm expecting that they are expecting a frame trap, so I'm expecting they're going to continue blocking to defend against the small gap that I could leave there. But I don't. I actually leave a stagger or a wider gap. I move up a little bit and I delay my next attack. They could have challenged me there. They could have pressed the button. But unfortunately, because they were expecting the frame trap, I'm using the fear of the frame trap to get ahead and do something else. And one or two things are happening here. they're noticing that the frame trap isn't coming, so maybe they could start retaliating on defense and try to take their turn now on offense, but that's when I catch them. The other thing that's also potentially happening, and probably happening in this particular clip, is that later on people in that game are using a lot of the delayed jab, sometimes called the fuzzy mash option select on defense, and when I'm widening the gap like that, I'm actually trying to intercept that option select on defense. So it's either option, but I'm catching them pressing buttons later instead of right away, trying to mash right away, because they are also a good player and they know the frame trap could be coming, and they're not just simply pressing buttons on defense as soon as possible in order to, again, defend against the frame trap. So let's not take a small random portion of a match like that and actually watch some 2x KO, and let's take one of my matches I fought recently and watch the whole thing and see if I can commentate about what's going on in my mind, what I'm trying to do in the match, and what I'm seeing and what's working. Well, this is going to be a one take. We're going to go right in. I'm going to talk over the action. And I suppose you guys can always play it back if you want to see a small segment. I won't be pausing the replay so much. So he wins the opening gambit with all the assist calling and everything. Still doing pretty well with that. Stopping me with the darts. Actually, here you'll notice how I don't go in immediately. This is the same concept as delaying on their block string. Sometimes in neutral, less is more. If you don't go in immediately, it's less predictable. Just waiting a little bit before making your move can make a zoning character like Teemo just a little bit harder to track your movement and exactly when you're going to go. If you're always go, 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 again, they're going to follow your rhythm. If you're going to follow your flow, much easier. Alright, we got some pressure. Tried to go on the other side and get slapped by that special move. That pull-in is quite reactable with parry, as I did there. Again, he didn't try to delay that or anything, he just went for it. And I was kind of looking for it. When I'm blocking against Blitzcrank, I'm thinking, when is that pull-in move gonna happen? Oh, actually, we will stop it just a second there and go back. Because that was a kind of a good... Skip back, skip back. What is going on the screen? It's a disco dance. What? The disco ball, I mean. Anyway. With Jinx there, I slightly slow down a little bit. I take 2 steps back, like that, and then I shoot my meaty gun. This is another example of me not going at it right away. Just waiting my moment a little bit. Waiting for him to come up and jittering a little bit, those 2 little steps. Just to give some motion to my character, but I'm still available. I'm still holding my hand. Now, when he came down, he was on my other side, but he kind of crossed himself up, it seems there. Alright, let's try to look on some of the actual delay mechanic that we're doing on block here, because that's what we're here for. Okay, that's all on hit. We complete the combo. That's a dead Teemo. That's a round that comes to us. So when I'm going to be pressuring my opponent on defense and when they're blocking, I'm going to be taking notes at what I see. And everything is information. I couldn't get to Teemo because the Blitzcrank was blocking me there. So I get comboed. Some 2x KO shenanigans going at foot. Trying to go through the pebbles. It's not working out. So I'm slowing down a little bit again. I try another approach. It works, okay? Okay, here are some staggers. The last one, the last delay there, it did work. I didn't confirm it, but I also noticed that he was blocking at first. The first few delays early that I did in that block string, he was blocking them. I tried to charge H, he was actually ready with the darts there. So what this is telling me is early into the string, he's willing to block, and later into my pressure string, he's willing to take a bet as to what it is that I might do. That's the information I have so far, based on that one interaction. So since he's blocking my early delays, I'm probably thinking I should eventually go for the throw. I should maybe go for some charge H very, very, very early on. Heck, I could even go for an overhead. Oh, just out of rage after I parry. That's his round. Alright, I want to see more block strings. I want to talk about those. But of course, in a full match, there's so many other things going on. We got to go through the combos and everything. But you'll notice that I am constantly trying to stay back or sometimes go back in much quicker. Oh, this is kind of an annoying Teemo thing. You can call this assist on the ground. You can't see what the assist is doing. Ah, there you go. That's what I'm looking for. I did get one of the frame traps there and he was forced to break with one of the delays. Vi can also delay her Rekka moves at the end. That's why I got one just there as well. So I feel like he's challenging a little bit more on defense because two of my frame traps, the small gap variant, worked out there. Ah, there's the throw. Because I've been doing a lot of small gaps, I've been conditioning that a lot with my opponent. So the more I do it, the more I can starting to be a little bit more creative. So I did the throw there. Because theoretically, he should be expecting and fearing that those gaps are going to crack him, right? They're going to get him. Alright, let's do another one. Alright, against the same opponent, this is the next match right after. I got one of the delays to work, confirmed it into a combo. It was the last hit that time. It's the delay that caused the hit. I'm still like... Oh, I got him that time. And just like that, because of that opening delay, I am massively ahead in life and everything. For this round, for now at least. Again, another one working out there. So now I'm thinking, at some point, again, still conditioning them, especially if some of them are working out. So we're going to see if, theoretically, I should be moving along the layers. Maybe I'm going to be sprinkling in some different things soon enough. There, like something like that. That's my point. I got a little bit more creative. Something like that is kind of fake. Jinx wouldn't necessarily do that kind of block string if I hadn't conditioned him to be afraid of the frame traps first. But I'm able to like pull off those kinds of things because he's not expecting it anymore. He's expecting something else that I've been showing him. That's one of the overheads right there. So as you can see, it's important that whatever it is that you start with, you're aware with what you're doing and your pressure, and you eventually use that, and you use how they're adjusting to that, and you try to adjust first, right? A little bit ahead of time. Just what I was saying earlier. We got some 2x KO footsies, it seems a little bit. Some slow play into... Okay, here we go. You know, I kind of think of it like a guitar solo in music. Now, stick with me with the analogy here, but if you play a solo as fast as you can, and like the notes as fast as you can on your guitar, you'll never truly create any anticipation in your audience, right? But what if you play fast at the start, then you slow it down, and then you play really ultra fast at the very end of the solo, and then gasp, the climax is really interesting to the audience and they weren't expecting it to finish that way or something like that. You know, you're playing fighting games, in my opinion, is kind of similar. You don't want to always be playing slow, you don't want to always be playing fast, you want to be able to change up that tempo. Well, anyway, the analogy makes sense to me. Alright, here we go. We got some pressure. Unfortunately, I got the hit, but I did too many delays there and I wasn't able to confirm it into a combo. And I tried to do a charge H at the end with the Jinx there, but it was too late, too predictable to add the charge H at the end. And again, sometimes you want to simplify it too. Like, you don't need to be doing like 5 delays because you do need to care about picking it up into a combo, right? So, oh, here's some of that creativity on block a little bit. That was kind of messy because I had some hits and I could have converted it better. There's so much more I'd like to talk about in this topic. It can be pretty complex because it has to do with how humans think and how they perceive things as you're doing a turn on them in fighting games. It's a fascinating topic. I hope you find it fascinating like me. We'll have to discuss more in yet another video perhaps. For now, good luck on your journey. Keep going forward. See ya. Alright, unscripted video. Here we go. Oh, here we go.